ready?
Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Oscar.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
And etc.
Now, Bears Etc., brought to you by Geico, with the voices of the Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
How about that? Jeff Joniak, Tom Thayer with you on podcast number 99, your Bears Etc. podcast, brought to you by Geico. Tom knows the significance of 8 would be great because that would extend the Bears' home winning streak to 8 games with a win over the Carolina Panthers on Sunday at Soldier Field. With my broadcast partner, Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Coming up, we are loaded today. We've got 2 linebackers, Tremaine Edmunds, to join us, also to talk about a new project he's involved with, and one of the former Carolina Panthers who, had to retire early or chose to retire early, Luke Kuechly. We had an interesting conversation with him as a preview to the matchup on Sunday at Soldier Field. So 8 straight home wins which is the active longest streak in the NFL, Tom, overall. And harkens back to the days of Lovie Smith. I think there was a 10-game home winning streak bridging 2 seasons. And that, you have to win at home, Tom. You have to win at home if you want to be a playoff team.
There's a lot of people inside the Bears building that have been talking about the respectability of playing at Soldier Field and what teams want to be walking into and how they want to be leaving. And I think this gives the Bears a great opportunity to increase that advantage of playing at home. They have a super supportive crowd. They play well inside Soldier Field. The weather's a little bit unpredictable. And one thing about it is when you do come into that stadium, you're playing against a defense that is developing a reputation with a really good aggressive team that has a lot of depth to it.
I had to do a speaking engagement today earlier at Hallis Hall in the viewing suite with some suite holders, and somebody asked me who I felt was the MVP after 4 games of the season on the Bears. And I thought about it, and the first name that popped out of my mouth was Jalen Johnson. I don't know who you would have said, and I would give a 1B to Javon Dexter Sr., and I'll explain why I picked those 2 guys, but who would you say? I know it's only 4 games and we're 2-2, but, it's interesting. It's an interesting question.
Yeah, to me, DJ Moore has been a model citizen since he's come into this planet that we call Chicago Bears. And he makes big catches. He plays hurt. He plays hard, and he gives full effort every single snap. Or I know that some of the stat line hasn't been there, but TJ Edwards is another guy that when you look at what is the centerpiece of a defense, and it's kind of funny that we did talk to Tremaine and Luke Kuechly, and we're now adding the name of TJ Edwards. So if you wanted to talk about 2 guys that have my ultimate respect, both of those guys are at the top of the list.
Teams are still not throwing at Jalen. They may test him a little bit, but I think he's allowed just 4 completions in 4 weeks. He's had a couple of picks. It's just been a really good start, and it really began when he got to training camp. He's more vocal as a leader. He is speaking his mind. He is basically helping out, holding everybody accountable in that locker room as one of the team captains. So that's where I was going there. And my 1B, because Dexter, as we indicated, and I felt, and I know you agree with me, that if he took a big step this year, that defense is going to become more deadly up front, which they need. And Montez Sweat won't be doubled all the time if they got to deal with him. So you do the math. Dating back over his last 9 games, Javon Dexter has 5.5 sacks. As an interior defensive lineman, that's good news. That is really good news, Tom.
Oh, no kidding. And he's still only scratching the surface of what ultimately he can become. And if they continue that outside concern of the pass rushers, then I think Javon is going to be gifted more opportunities because of the guys he's playing with. And then when you talk about Jalen Johnson, you look at now quarterbacks feel that they have to start throwing passes to the center of the field because of Jalen Johnson and Tariq Stevenson. So both of those guys are high on the reputation board of corners in the NFL.
As the practice week starts, the injury update, Tevin Jenkins still nursing a rib, so no practice on Wednesday. We'll see. Matt Eberflus indicated he's hopeful that he'll be able to play in this game. And DeAndre Carter also coming down with a rib injury, so I don't know what his status will be moving forward as the punt and kickoff returner. Now that Keelan Allen is back, his reps on offense shrink. And Jacob Martin is a defensive end that we haven't really talked about because he's been on IR and no window yet on his return. They're going to keep him on IR. This was the period of time where they could bring him back and start working him out. He had a window to come back, but they're going to hold him back just yet. Another guy on the defensive end position that could help out that rotation. But what are your thoughts on Jenkins and Carter with rib injuries?
It's super difficult injury to be comfortable with and play a sport like football, because depending upon if it's actual rib bone or a rib cartilage, there are two different kind of pains. And then what is your pain threshold if you're not willing to get it medically numbed a little bit to see if you can get through the game? And if you're kind of creating creating an instant where you could miss more time, then I would rather see these guys sit out because they both have capable backups. When you talk about Matt Pryor, you talk about Tyler Scott or Colin Johnson, or you talked about Keenan Allen having more reps. My biggest concern would be who's the next in line for punt return. And because Velus hasn't been on the field and active now for the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's a difficult situation if the conditions aren't perfect in Soldier Field, but they will be perfect in London.
All right, we'll learn more later in the week. Before we get into our interviews, let's listen in to the status at Hallis with Caleb Williams. And it starts, Tom, with the portion I chose to run is what you and I talked about during the course of the game and after the game, just in our conversations when we pick up the phone. The idea of tempo. Just, if you got a 3rd and short and you just had a nice 2nd and 8 conversion that picked up 8 yards, you need one, get to the line of scrimmage and go. If the running game's working, just go. Let's listen in and then get your thoughts. Here's Caleb Williams.
Whatever we're in the flow of. When we get going and we're running the ball, when we get going, if it's no huddle, when we get going and it's passing from the huddle, if it's no huddle, like I said, just a bunch of different things. Just finding that flow, keeping the flow so everybody can get in rhythm, everybody can feel good. And that was the main thing of, what I was getting at.
Were you more comfortable with the line of scrimmage on Sunday? And was that because you got to the line of scrimmage faster, maybe, than you had them?
I don't know if that's the case. I think throughout these past couple weeks or 4 weeks, I guess, I've been getting more comfy at getting back into the flow of playing football, getting back in the flow of getting up there, making checks, taking a few hits, all of that. And so I think the biggest thing is just myself, just getting back into the flow. It's a new everything for me being here. And so getting to the flow, making sure I'm, Shane and I are on the same page that when he calls a play and we have alerts and things like that, that we're on the same page. So, I think I would say that's the biggest thing.
After 4 games, Caleb, do you have a good idea of who you guys are offensively after 4 games? Do you have a good idea of that?
I don't know if I have that answer specifically down yet. We're definitely figuring it out, and it's like I said a few weeks ago, it had to happen sooner rather than later, and it's happened pretty soon. I would say, and us figuring out, I think last game is a huge stepping stone for us to be able to go versus a team like that, and coaches like that, coaches that's won Super Bowl, quarterback that's won a Super Bowl on the other side. There's a lot of knowledge over there, and so being able to get the run game going, be pretty balanced. I would say run game, pass game wise, and get all of that going. I think we're taking the right steps in the direction. But I think especially with all the new additions that we have, I think we expected and wanted to happen faster. But this is the process that we're in, and so happy to come out with the win last week, but definitely figuring it out very soon. You can prepare all you want. If you look at all the injured guys or all the people that stopped playing for a year, whatever the case may be, when you come back or when they've come back, the football shape, it's different. You can run all you want. You can run the hills. You can lift. You can do all these things, be on such a tight routine with yourself and the team or whatever the case may be, and you get into a football game and things like that, and you're tired, you're exhausted in the game. You've taken a few hits and your body hasn't adjusted to that yet, it's I think it's a real thing. You feel it all. I mean after the first 2 games of my career here, I was a little bit more sore than I have been these past 2 weeks, and And it's I think it is something for sure.
Caleb, Torrey told us the day that he was drafted that you had texted him and said, you're not going to be punting much here.
Mhm.
Having seen the offense try to find its footing these first couple of weeks, how big of an asset has he been to what you guys are, operationally doing and being able to flip the field?
Yeah, no, he's unbelievable. I mean, that might have when we drafted him, the night we drafted him, that was the first time I've ever looked at a punter highlight tape on the night we drafted him. And I love the guy. He's great. It was one of those running jokes on that draft night. I sent him a few other stuff, but that was the thing that came out. I said that, and I'm obviously grateful to have him for what he does for this team, how he helps out this team. He's such a great human, let alone an outstanding punter. To be able to do some of the things he does, like I think it was 65-yard punt that pinned him at the 10-yard line, before we go get that pick at the end of the game to go and seal it. So, he's like I said, unbelievable, and super happy to have him here. We talk and joke and laugh all the time, anytime we, get a chance to. Like I said, he's pretty sick.
Caleb, what have you learned in the NFL about through experience here in 4 games, the value of the underneath game in the NFL, where those are not usually going to be highlight plays, but you were getting 8 yards per play doing that Sunday, for example?
Yeah, I think that was when I was in college. I think that was a knock on my game. I think everybody wanted to say that I don't take checkdowns and things like that, but you also have to adapt to the team. You also have to adapt to the situation. It's always a growing and learning process. And I think I've done, I would say a pretty solid job of finding the checkdowns and understanding that game is so huge for us in our offense and, keeping us on the football field. So, with me doing that and all of that, I think it's been important for us. I think it's something that I've gotten better with, obviously. And also I know that, when you can steal first downs, which is what checkdowns do, it helps out tremendously, in the long run of the game.
Obviously, you don't want to be only that.
Yes.
There's levels above that. But
Yep.
Do you view that as a key step in building your foundation as a quarterback?
Definitely a key step. To be able to, play for a long time, not holding the ball, taking those sacks, finding your checkdowns, getting the ball at your hands, and letting the guys that you have, go make plays. It's what, I'm here to do, obviously make plays, but it's obviously, we have 10 other guys on the field to be out there, with me and make plays. And so being able to get the ball in their hands with space, it's a lot of times what teams do with checkdowns. They give that guy space, and so give him the ball, the right shoulder, so you can turn, get upfield, split 2, get the first down, get as close as you can to possibly even go for it and put yourself in better advantageous position.
I like that he's asking for that as well. 22-year-old kid, rookie quarterback, 4 games into his NFL career, asking, hey, if it's rolling, let's just go. Go with the roll.
Right. It's that continuous conversation, especially when you're at home and you're in control of the snap count. And if you can go out there and make that snap count a weapon, plus be more aggressive at the line of scrimmage and get your quarterback into the tempo that he favors. But a lot of it is conversation during the week with Shane Waldron and rest of the quarterback coaches saying, okay, look, man, I've had a little bit in my past. I like this type of tempo. Let's take advantage of field position opportunities and see what we can do with it. Because if you have the right personnel on the field for the Bears and it's tough to match up with and you stick with that personnel, in those second and third plays that you have that mental advantage of who you're going to go to and how you're going to go.
Which leads us to our Geico brings you more football stat of the day. Williams, 141 pass attempts right now through 4 games, Tom, is the 5th most in the NFL. If we would have made a bet before the season that he'd be in the top 5 in pass attempts before the year, 4 weeks in, I don't know. Would you have thought that? Because he's got 141. Geno Smith, number 1 at 159. Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones in that order. Now, a lot of it has to do with, in those games where teams trailing and hurrying up to try and catch up from a big deficit and putting it up in the air, but 3 passing touchdowns and a pick in his last 6 quarters after no touchdowns and 3 interceptions in his first 10 quarters.
When you talk about those group of quarterbacks, those group of teams, who has comparable weapons on offense? Maybe Seattle, but it's not Dallas, and it's not who is the other
Cleveland
quarterback?
Giants.
Yeah, it's not Cleveland. But when you look at what the Bears have and the weapons that they have, from multiple tight ends, multiple receivers, multiple backs that can catch the ball, and you have a quarterback that's in the infancy stages of where he's ultimately going to be, I'm not like totally surprised, but you kind of thought that Caleb would have a little bit of a supportive running game earlier in the season. And I think that's just starting to pick up steam.
So is the Bears defense, Tom. They're allowing fewer than 19 points a game, one of the best in the NFL, 15 different categories. They are top 10 in the NFL defensively. It's still work in progress, according to Matt Eberflus, but a big part of it is the guy who puts the green dot on his helmet, the communicator, the guy in the middle, Tremaine Edmunds. A conversation with the Bears linebacker with Tom and I rolling right now. We just finished up talking to one of the greats in NFL history, Luke Kuechly, now doing radio with the Carolina Panthers, and we're just talking about the connective tissues to linebackers of the past that are always memorialized by, like, for example, the Butkus Award and the Jack Lambert Award in college. I know you loved Ray Lewis, you loved Urlacher, you loved Patrick Willis. You sat and visited with Dick Butkus, picked his brain a couple years ago, and you were a finalist for that 17 Butkus Award out of Virginia Tech. So it's interesting, all these great linebackers and the names that are attached and who you guys all looked up to as young players, and now you're living that dream yourself.
Most definitely, man. As a kid, you're always, connected and motivated by, the guys that came before you. And it's funny you said that because, Luke was a guy that I looked up to as well, particularly being a young guy coming into the league. A lot of carryover from the coaching staff that I had. He had him early on in his career. So I think just the carryover of, wanting to get better, wanting to pick the brains of the great guys. You know what I mean? He was one of the greats. And, we talk about all these guys, but when you can take a little bit from everybody's game and kind of put it with your game, it just elevates you to a level, that you want to get to. You know what I mean? That's what it's all about. It's all about, taking a little bit each year and putting it into your game so you can become a better player.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that, the Buffalo-Carolina connection. Yeah, I forgot about McDermott.
Yeah, most definitely. It's a big connection. And, just kind of seeing a lot of things that he did on film. And, kind of studying him a little bit more and kind of just seeing how he took control out there. Obviously, there's a lot of things that you take from all these great guys and, you want to apply it to your game. So, he was definitely one of those guys. And like you mentioned, a lot of those other guys that you mentioned, just sitting down and wanting to be a student of the game and, wanting to learn and be better.
Tremaine, one thing about your career, you were drafted highly by the Buffalo Bills to be a building block of a good defense in Buffalo. Then in free agency, you were brought to Chicago with the equal amount of pressure to be a building block of a great defense here in Chicago. Is that a pressure that you like, or do you even consider that a pressure?
Nah, man, I've kind of been in these positions, man, since I was a child, to be honest. And, I take extreme, admiration to, want to get better, and extreme admiration to just, want to be a piece of that puzzle, because that's what it is a puzzle. And, I'm a piece of it. I understand that I'm a big piece of it, but, there's also 10 other guys out there with me on the field. There's also, 11 other guys out there on the offensive side. So it takes all of us to accomplish one goal. And I think when you understand that as an individual, it takes that pressure, as you just said, off, because it's not just you out there. Like, I'm not out there doing it all by myself. This is the ultimate team sport. And when you look at it from that lens and when you have that perspective, you understand that you don't have to be, as we all use the phrase, Superman. You know what I mean? Like, you have other people out there that's going to help you, do your job at a high level, but also, take into that accountability that, you have to perform and, be your best version of yourself. But, that's what it is when you have a good team, man. Each guy pushes each other, and it makes your job 10 times easier. But just because, like, I'm going to do everything in my power not to let my guy down beside me, because we know the amount of work that we all put in. So, when you know that you're not out there by yourself, and you know that you're out there with guys as just as determined as you is, it makes the job easier, because, you don't have to put everything on yourself, and understand that there's other people out there doing it with.
So I grew up in an offensive huddle my whole life. And so the quarterback comes into the huddle, he takes control, he puts a bunch of terminology out there that everybody picks from, and then we break the huddle. When you go into the defensive huddle, is there a little bit more time for corrections or conversation or talking, or is it huddle, call the defense and then break? Or what is your huddle like right now with this group of guys?
Yeah, so we talk about the cycle of a snap. You know what I mean? It's not a lot of time. You know what I mean? You get the call in, you relay the call to your defense, you make whatever checks need to be made. You talk about obviously formations. You talk about motions. You try to stay a step ahead of the play. You know what I mean? Like you talk about pre-snap awareness, things that you may see, and just getting that communicated along the defensive line, linebackers, secondary. But to answer your question, yeah, it's not a lot of time. You know what I mean? Like obviously the headset goes out, the time that it goes out. So throughout that little time, you have whatever other kind of communication outside of, obviously relaying the call and getting the checks that need to be made. That you have a little bit of time to get that communication in, but the cycle of a snap is quick. You know what I mean? It's like a routine. You know what I mean? Whether it's a good play, bad play, you have to go to the next shot. You have to, regroup and be able to relay the next call to your defense. But obviously it's been a process, and obviously it's been, something that that I've been enjoying because it's a journey. You know what I mean? From the first time that I did it, because college, I didn't have the green dot in college. You know what I mean? So having it in the NFL, I'm like, you know what? This is who I am. You know what I mean? And like, this is what it's all about. And, man, it's been nothing but amazing. Just taking that control and, having all the guys depending on you, man, it's something that I don't take for granted at all.
Who sets the defensive huddle? It's like the center always sets the offensive huddle. Who sets the defense?
It's the D-line. The game always won in the trenches, man. So we let the big guys set it, and I'm just going to get up top and I do all the talking. But, we let the big guys set it and, let them how they find that way.
That's an interesting conversation for the average fan and it's never one time crossed my mind. Back in the old days, you had the quarterbacks, had their back to the defense, and these guys are all looking at the defense. Remember those days? There was no huddle. They just looked at them, right? I never understood that. I never understood that. But on top of that, like, who decide? Like, just everybody just falls in place? I mean, how does this work in the huddle?
It's kind of like a thing that, as elementary as it may sound, we practice it. You know what I mean? Like,
no kidding.
This is what a D-line is going to be. This is what a linebacker stands. This is what a secondary stands. Like, I know it sounds pretty elementary, man, but you got to, because it's all about, everybody being in coordinates with one another and everybody, you know what I mean, making it look like, we're unity. It's a unity, you know what I mean? So obviously it's not something that we just be like, call the huddle up and you just fit in where you get in. That it's like, nah, we practice this. We're supposed to stand. Let's look professional. Let's do it that professional way.
That's hilarious, actually. All right, Tremaine, so we got this new ad campaign you're in with another type of Edmunds. How'd that all come about, and how cool is that?
Yeah, man, so it was just a car shopping website that Edmunds put together. It was a fun collab with pro athletes that had the last name Edmunds. So me and my brother, we were stoked to be involved in it, and we were glad we had the opportunity to be a part of such a great opportunity.
Yeah, it's called the Name of the Game campaign. Promotes their free car appraisal tool. It's an Edmunds name that people can trust, just like you. And then you got your brothers Trey and Terrell. So highlighting the shared last name. How fun was that?
Man, definitely fun. Just being able to be with people with the last name Edmunds that you could trust for, car buying advice and selling. And it was definitely a unique experience. I had a good time. Brothers had a good time. And, just to see, all the work that we did and see how they was able to, edit and make everything come to life was definitely, a thing of beauty.
Yeah. So they have a new Edmunds sweepstakes for Bears fans that just launched. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So it's going on now, from October on into, when we play the Patriots in November. So it's just, giving out some free things, giving out VIP prizes, some other big things. But yeah, so you can go to Edmunds.com/Bears for more information.
Get a free vehicle appraisal and enter the sweepstakes. So it's a win-win. Not another game at home after Carolina Sunday, Big Tom, until November 10th against New England, and you'll have an opportunity to win free tickets and parking to that Week 10 game. So did you love working with them?
I did, man. It was definitely great company. It was kind of like a all-day thing. We did it back in Carolina, man, so it was real hot outside. But it was just nice to see, obviously what we did throughout the day, and to be able to, trim it down within like a 30-second or 45-second commercial. It's like, man, we was out here all day. It was 45 seconds. But, that's the process, though. That's the journey. Like I said, we talked about the journey and the process this whole time. But I had a lot of fun, man, setting up my post-career, hopefully getting into a little bit of acting. We got to start somewhere. But, I had a lot of fun, man. The cast, everybody that was there, showed us nothing but love, extreme gratitude towards them, for just, wanting to involve us in this.
Is that you doing the one-arm bench press in that commercial?
Nah.
Man, 315, dude, with one arm?
Nah, that was actually my brother. That was my brother, man.
Man, you guys are strong.
That's the same thing I told him.
Hey, Tremaine, kind of on it's kind of a cool thing is Tory Taylor, the punter. So now you guys are getting ready to take the field on defense, and here you have a punter that turns into a weapon that backs up the opponent's offense, and now you guys take the field, and it's got to be somewhat motivating for you guys to say, okay, we got these guys backed up. Let's keep them backed up and create better field position for our offense. So I know we've only had a little, the first few games of Tory's career, but it's got to be exciting to have that type of weapon right before you guys get on the field.
No, it definitely is. Just using that to our advantage. And, I understand, when you get the team backed up, you want to keep them there. And anytime you can have, a punter to do things of such, obviously that's an advantage to the football team. We talk about complementary football, and complementary football is offense, defense, and special team. So anytime you can have special teams play a role in how they played a role this past Sunday, and that's going to carry us throughout the whole year. Obviously, as a defensive player, you get excited for things like that. You know what I mean? You get excited to get teams backed up because that's when, obviously you can set up the offense with great field possession. The offense can take advantage of that and, get points out of that. You know what I mean? We like to use the phrase, we have 3 points. Now let's go get 6 or 7 points. You know what I mean? So anytime as a defense, not just defense, anytime as a team that you could set up the other side of the ball, whether it's offense, special teams, whatever it may be, to get those points, that's what you live for and that's what you play a game for. That's a key to success. And that's, like I said, man, I take my hat off to him. He did a great job this past week as far as, setting up, field possession and, making sure that we setting up each side of the ball for success. So, everything has been well. And, I'm looking forward to, his success throughout the rest of this year.
Tremaine, when Jimmy Johnson came aboard the NFL and he started playing a defensive line that rotated 8 different guys, and as an offensive lineman, you become familiar with your opponent if you play against them the whole game. Now, if there's 8 different guys in there shuffling up and down the line of scrimmage, I think it's a little confusing to the offensive line. Do you play the same type of game with the Montez Sweat and DeMarcus Walker defensive line with Javon and Billings in there as opposed to the other group of guys? Is it same defensive linebacker play, or do you kind of figure out or think about who's in front of you?
I think each guy, as each guy possesses, different traits and different abilities and what they could do. I think it's kind of the same mindset. I think that just comes off the film study that we do each week. Obviously, you sit down with each guy, kind of see how they see the game, kind of see how they play the run, pass game, whatever they may think, because each guy is going to think a little bit different. So I really think that comes, with the preparation that we put in throughout the week, with the film study that we may see with one another. It's a lot of, off the field stuff that we do that, that's a little bit behind the scenes, but that, translate into the game, because now I know how, this person is thinking in front of me. And, if I want to shoot this gap or, whether this person want to, tag or, play a little bit more aggressive, we kind of picking each other's brain. And I think that just goes into the work we put out throughout the week, practices that we have throughout the week and kind of just filling each other out.
Are you guys at a really good spot right now, and you've kind of set the floor for the season through 4 games of where you're at? I know you guys have higher goals, but are you at a good place, a good start to the season?
Yeah, I think we're at a good start. Obviously, our goals are extremely high. We set them high because we know we can reach them. You know what I mean? We know what we have in the room. We know, how good we can truly be. And, obviously, we play this game to be the best. You know what I mean? I understand where we at now, but we play this game to be the best. So at the end of the day, we want to be number one. And we understand the work that we have to put in. We understand, certain areas that we have to get better with. And, those areas are being, that's emphasis throughout the week. You know what I mean? And, I think we have a great group of guys that understand what it takes to be, a great defense, understand what it takes to be a dynamic unit, because that sets up our team to have success. Just being great on defense, because that's what championships are won. And anytime that, you could change the game defensively, I think you're looking at something special. So just being able to, improve on, some of the things that we have. And, at the same time, understanding where we at as a unit. You know what I mean? Throughout the time, obviously, you spend so much time wanting to get better. Obviously, you want to congratulate yourself on some of the great things that you're doing. And I think that, guys are aware of, some of the great things we're doing, because you don't want to leave. You don't want to lose out on, the vision of, where we're going. Obviously, this is where we started. And when we look back on it, this is where we become. And I think each step along the way, we can learn from it, take some of these things as experience, because experience is the number one teacher. And continue to get better throughout the whole year.
Is the head coach the same guy as the defensive play caller? You got to know him pretty well over the last couple of years. And is he the same guy on game day Sunday that he is as a head coach during the week?
Yeah, he is. And I think, like I said, man, I've been speaking on this whole time. I think it's the process that he goes about his business. Obviously he's heavily involved in the defense throughout the week. Not just the defense, but obviously being the head coach, you have to to tend to, obviously each side of the ball. And, he's done a great job of doing that. He's always the same level-headed guy. I don't see really, pressure getting to him or anything like that. He's the same guy. And that just goes with the preparation. We talk, communication is open throughout the whole week. Whatever he's thinking, he let me know. Whatever I'm thinking, I let him know. And, he just kind of feeds off our advice, you know what I mean? And it's a player-coach connection as far as, wanting to help each other out just to get the job done, because at the end of the day, that's what it takes. Egos are checked at the door, and whatever it takes to, equivalent to winning, that's what it's all about.
One more question for me. So you've been around the NFL now for a while. Have you ever played in a season where you don't play the divisional opponent until the latter part of the season? Because, you kind of play a couple teams at the beginning and then play the rest at the end. Now you're going to play them all in a compact portion of the season.
Yeah, no, it's a very unique situation. I don't recall myself having a season like this, but to be honest, man, I think it's to our advantage. You know what I mean? Obviously we have a lot of new pieces. Obviously we have, a young quarterback. So just being able to get that experience throughout the week, that experience throughout the year, and just being able to, build off some of the things that we want to get better with, prior to going into those divisional games. I think we can use it to our advantage. So I think it's just about taking it one game at a time, 1 week at a time, just to continue to get better.
All right, Carolina, real quick. It's a different team with Andy Dalton right now, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, a guy that's seen a lot of ball. You can see the difference. Obviously, they have a lot of good playmakers, no matter what the record may show, no matter, what the outside noise may be. I think anytime you play in a quarterback such as, Andy Dalton, and, the things that he's seen in just his career in general, obviously it's going to possess, different traits. So it comes down to us, honing down on our fundamentals, honing down on what we do well, and, just continue to do, the good things that we do, but also the areas that we know we want to improve on, continue to put our head down and, work towards that, and, just being where our feet are.
Hey, I got a fun wrap up for you. Everybody always asks the same thing, right? LeBron or Michael. I got a fun one for you. This is across all sports. You ready? I'm going to start with hoops, though. Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum.
That's a tough one, but I'm going to go with Anthony Edwards.
All right. Allen Iverson or Steph Curry?
Oh, no.
This is crazy, because I you don't understand how many arguments I get in this, but I'm a Virginia guy, so I'm going Allen Iverson.
Nice. Who argues with you? Your teammates?
Everybody has their own perspective, you know what I mean? But it's kind of hard for me to say, because obviously Steph Curry is who he is. But, I'm a Virginia guy. I grew up an Allen Iverson fan. He was one of my favorite players growing up. So I just got to go Allen Iverson. That's just me.
All right. I don't know if you watch baseball at all. Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't watch it enough for me to make I can't call it, because I don't watch it enough for me to, you know what I mean? Maybe I should, but
I think
I don't want to say a crazy answer and everybody looking at me like, oh, I don't know what is Tremaine talking about.
That's fair, and I think Tommy would agree. Tommy watches a little bit of everything, but Shohei Ohtani, that's different. We've never seen, he's not healthy to pitch, but he will in the postseason. But he's hitting 50, stealing 50, doing this, and he's also a great pitcher. We haven't seen that, Tom.
Tremaine, have you seen Travis Hunter? And I don't want to take anything away from the pro athletes, but Travis Hunter, the DB receiver for Deion in Colorado.
Yeah, I've seen him. Yeah, I watched a couple of games.
That dude's legit, man.
Nah, yes, he's definitely a great player for sure.
Yeah.
All right. This is the last one. your dad, Farrell Edmunds, played for the Miami Dolphins, Seattle. So LeBron and Bronny together, father-son, first time ever in the NBA. It'll happen opening night, no question about it. You're the son of an NFL dad. That's never happened in the NFL where a son and a dad are playing. This is a rare moment. How cool would that have been?
Man, it would have been amazing. Like that's what I was talking about earlier. Like I don't care if you're not a LeBron fan or not. Like you have to respect that because that's just something that doesn't happen. Like I can't wait just to kind of just see what it's gonna feel like. I know it's gonna probably be very emotional for that family. Just being able to be out there with your dad, like I couldn't even imagine that. Like me being out there with my dad. I played defense and my dad would have been a tight end. Like I probably would have had to check my dad. Like it would have been crazy. Like that would have been crazy. But nah, I know that's very special, man. I take my hat off just to the James family, just because like I don't, like you said, that's just something that doesn't happen. Like So I know if I was in that position, I don't even know how I would be able to, go to work and be like, you know what, like dad, like what time we leaving in the morning? That's crazy. Like he has to be asking this ball from his dad. I saw an interview and he was like, nah, I'm not gonna let him call me dad at work. Like he got to call me like LeBron or Bron or something but not dad. Like it's crazy.
Or how about this, Tom? Hey, Dad, where we going to the club tonight after the game? What are we doing?
Yeah. I just want to see Bronny throw LeBron an alley-oop.
Nah, that's gonna be crazy.
Gosh.
That would be cool.
All right, so thankful for you. Glad you're a Chicago Bear. Appreciate it. And Edmunds.com and Edmunds as an overall, Edmunds.com/Bears. Lucky to have you as one of their spokesmen as well, you and your family. So congratulations with that, and have a good game on Sunday. We'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Tremaine.
All right.
All right, we had a good time with him. He had a good time. He got a new venture with Edmunds, so that's exciting for him and his family. But, I was just talking to Mark Silverman of ESPN, and he was listening into some of the interview I was playing in the background, and he goes, man, he always seems like a really nice guy, and he is. And he could be a bad man on the football field, though, so that's the way you like him.
Super intelligent, great upbringing, is very smart about the sport of football because it's bred in him from his dad and his brother and so on. But I love every time having a chance to talk to Tremaine, whether it's on the stage at the draft or it's a behind-the-scenes interview for this podcast. He's just an exceptional guy, and I asked him about, when he was drafted in Buffalo, he was there to become a building block. When he came to the Bears as a free agent, he was brought here to be a building block, and I think that he's held up to his end of the responsibility perfectly.
Yeah, and here's a crazy stat for you because, we're going to talk to Luke Kuechly here in a second. Luke retired at 28. He is 33. Tremaine is in his 6th year of the NFL, and he's only, 26 years old? But this is crazy, all right? This is crazy. The third-string quarterback of the L.A. Rams is Stetson Bennett. Yeah. This is his, 2nd year? He's 186 days older than Tremaine Edmunds, who's entering his 6th year.
Yeah. When we were...
This is crazy.
Speaking of Luke being retired when he's 28 years old, I retired when I was 33, and this is the same age Luke is right now. And I kind of put myself in that position if I had to retire at 28. That's not what I wanted to do, and I wanted to play as long as I possibly could. And 33, I was going to be 34 in August, so I kind of was analogizing where he's at in his life and where I was at 33 when I was retiring. It's kind of a crazy set of circumstances, but I love the way he played, and I really enjoyed him as a person.
Tastes like Miller time. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. And we're brought to you by PNC, official bank of the Bears. Here's our conversation with former Carolina Panthers linebacker and 7-time Pro Bowler and now current analyst for the Panthers Radio Network, Luke Kuechly. Welcome to the program, Luke. A decorated life as a football player and post-career, getting out there a little bit now on the radio crew with the Panthers. You dabbled with the pro scouting, and I'm still thinking, you got a 37-year-old, I think now, Mike McDonald, head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. You're still a young pup at 33. I maybe sense a coaching career at some point.
I tell you what, I am coaching right now with a former Bear, Greg Olson. Jonathan Stewart and Greg's dad and Todd Blackledge. So we coach a 7th and 8th grade football team here in Charlotte, and it's a blast. I spend way too much time getting ready for games, game planning, talking with Greg about potential things they're going to do on the offensive side of the ball. And then we get into the game and we have 3 calls and we hope that we can stand up. But it's a ton of fun. We watch tape. We have coaches meetings. We have practice a couple times a week. It's so fun.
Well, that must be the most star-studded youth football coaching staff in America. Right there.
Oh, it's a blast. And everyone's always like, that's so nice that you guys go spend your time and coach these kids. And what people don't realize is we have more fun than the kids do. And I tell all the parents, like, I'm just so happy you guys let us coach your kids.
Luke, my first trophy in my life was winning pass, punt, and kick when I was 9 years old. And it was the biggest thrill in my life when I got that trophy presentation. When you see the looks on these kids' faces after they show improvement, if they win a game, if they're getting better or earn a position, do you kind of get that feeling of pride that you can almost put yourself in their shoes and what began for you and where the end result was?
Oh, absolutely. We played last night was a perfect example of some of our kids really growing and understanding the game. We had a couple interceptions last night, and it were by kids that do everything right. It's maybe their first time playing football. They've come a long way. They've learned really well, and then they get to go out and they make a great play because they're in the right spot. They know what they're looking for, and it makes me happy because at the end of the day, when you coach these kids, it's all about the kids and making sure that they're enjoying the game of football and that they're learning. And, I just look back on my grade school football years and I learned a lot about football. I had a ton of fun. I had ups and downs, but at the end of the day, you remember, man, this was so fun. I got to play with my buddies that I go to school with, and that's kind of one of the last times you get to do it.
Ryan Poles, Boston College grad as well.
Yes. Oh, yeah, there you go.
So you started there in 2009. He left in 2008. He undrafted with the Bears. Did you on your visit, did you happen to visit with the offensive lineman? Did you have any interaction with Ryan Poles?
I think I met him briefly. When you're young like that and you go to a college and you're just trying to stay above the water. And my approach it's probably the wrong approach. I was like, just be quiet, stay in your lane, be very nice to everybody. And I got a little bit overwhelmed on those visits. So I'm sure I've met him. He's done a fantastic job in Chicago, but all my buddies talked about Poles when I was at BC, especially the older guys.
All right, Tommy, you got the floor.
Okay.
Buddy.
All right, Luke, listen, I got 1,000 questions about your career. That will be for another podcast. However, I got to get your feeling, your professional opinion on the change at quarterback in Carolina, because the Bears were in a unique position and they had a lot to do with that pick. So what are your feelings about what the Panthers, the changes they made?
And you look at our team and you look what Bryce has been through the last 2 years, multiple coaches, different people calling offensive plays. Offensive line last year wasn't very good. We didn't have a ton of skill last year on the offensive side of the ball. Let's fast forward to this year. I think the best thing for him is to do exactly as what happened. You bring Andy in after week 2, tough start to the year with Bryce. And then Andy comes in and plays and has done a really good job. He's energized the offense. And I think for Bryce, this is just a really good opportunity to just take a breath, man. Like, take a breath, get used to what we're doing. And I think you put these young guys in at quarterback, sometimes it's got to be a good situation. If it's not a good situation, just give them a little time to breathe. You look at what New England's doing with Drake May. I mean, you'd love to put him in the game, but until they get enough pieces around him, I don't think they feel comfortable doing it. So I think Bryce has a bright future in front of him, but Andy's done a great job the last 2 weeks of running the offense, getting the ball out, giving ourselves a chance to win, throwing good balls. He's a winner. You guys obviously had him in Chicago, and he's done a fantastic job for us. He's started 3 games, obviously 2 this year, 1 last year, and he's played fantastic.
Will scheme success by Andy Dalton give a little bit more leeway to the coaching staff and kind of allow you guys to prove you have the right guy in place? It's just about experience in the system.
Well, absolutely. And it allows you to evaluate the rest of the pieces on the offensive side of the ball. If you can evaluate the offensive line, the running backs, the receivers, the ball's coming out, guys are getting opportunities to go after balls now. And I think it gives us an opportunity to evaluate what we have in the coaching staff. The first couple of weeks, it's like, how are we doing? And then these last 2 weeks, now you get to see the Dave Canales offense and what we're capable of. And I think there was a lot of positive momentum when we brought him in. And in the offseason, there's a lot of chatter of, hey, we really like Dave Canales. He's a good dude. He's got great energy. He's smart. He knows what he's doing. And then now these last 2 weeks on the offensive side of the ball, it's like, hey, he's exactly what we need and what we want. And so I think for our team, this has been a really good move, not only for the offense, but to evaluate. And, Dave Canales has been fantastic.
Ejiro Evero, is he pulling his hair out right now? Because through no fault of his own, he loses an outstanding defensive lineman in Derek Brown. Now linebackers, Shaq Thompson out for the year with an Achilles. Looks like Josie Jewell's going to be out. Can they weather that storm defensively?
It's going to be a battle, right? Derek Brown out, Josie Jewell out, Shaq Thompson out, Jordan Fuller starting safety out. So 4 huge pieces, 2 big free agents we brought in, and 2 guys that have been in our team for a long time that we're relying on are out. So yeah, I'm sure Ejiro is like, daggone, I got to figure this out. But now you get a look at some of the young guys. We drafted a guy, Trevin Wallace, this year out of Kentucky that the staff really liked. I know Dan Morgan really liked him as well. So now you get a chance to see what you have in these guys. And Ejiro's a fantastic coach, and I'm sure he'd love to have these guys healthy, but that's not the case in the NFL. You got to deal with what you have, and he'll get them going. And it's good that he's got a full week to figure it out versus last week when Shaq and Josie go down. Now your game plan changes a little bit, so it's hard to make those adjustments mid-game. But this week he's got a full week to understand, all right, this is our plan at linebacker. This is what we're going to do. So I think he's a fantastic coach. I'm sure he's like, man, this isn't – I wish I had my guys, but that's not how it goes.
We know you're retired at 28. It's a shocker, right, when it happens. Any regrets about it? Do you miss it? And then what you're doing to try and promote the game, which – is an admirable thing here, because we talk about traumatic brain injury and all the concussion issues, and now Tua's situation is certainly prominent. Everybody's got an opinion, but you're choosing also to talk about the positives of the game and for parents to make their own decisions about their children, as opposed to saying, hey, just don't play, which we always feel the game is under attack in many regards at every level because of that. Tell us what you're doing and how you're approaching it when you get asked these questions.
Yeah, I don't regret being done. I miss it. I wish I could have played longer, but I knew it was the right decision. I love the game of football. I would have played as long. If you're like, hey, Luke, you're not going to get hurt, I'd play as long as I could, because I just loved it so much. It was so fun. Do I miss it? Yeah, I still miss it, but I'm past. I know I can't play anymore. My first year or 2 out, I'm like, man, I think I can still play. Like I still got it. And now I walked out on the field last week against the Bengals pregame, and I was like, I'm not tackling Jamar Chase. Like, that's just not going to happen. So that part's good. But I love the game, like I said, and I want guys to be able to play as long as they want to and not have, head issues be a reason why they have to retire. So I'm involved with a couple companies that promote, devices that help with brain health. A couple of them are rehab groups that help with recovery of, TBI, brain health, concussion, stuff of that nature. And then my biggest thing for guys who are playing is the most important thing is to be honest with the providers. I mean, the trainers and the doctors. They don't know how you feel. They can run their tests. They can do everything the right way. But at the end of the day, our guys that are playing have to be honest with these doctors and medical staff and say, this is how I feel. And the more honest with you are, the better care you can get. And that's really my biggest thing for everybody is the player has to be honest, and we got to protect the player from themselves at times.
Luke, I got one more question for you because I saw you on the Kay Adams podcast. You did a great job. You know the league. You study the league. And I think you referred to Joe Burrow as a not a thrower, as a passer, if I'm right. So when you look at a young developing guy like Caleb Williams, and if you're looking at him through the eyes of a scout or a middle linebacker, what's your initial impressions of Caleb?
Phenomenal athlete. That's number one, right? I don't think there's a throw on the field he can't make. I think what he's figuring out now is, all right, how beneficial is my ability to scramble versus my ability to try to get balls thrown on time. But I think, some of these guys are so talented in college that you can get away with stuff in college and you can run around and sling it and your arm gets you out of a lot of trouble. But in the NFL, it's just a little bit faster. It's a little bit crisper. These defensive linemen can really run. Corners are better. So, my rookie year, you try stuff you try in college that you get away with and it doesn't work. And good quarterbacks over time and good players over time figure that out. And just reading some stuff this week, it sounds like he's taken coaching. He wants to be coached. He's not like, that's the only thing you really look for in a young guy is, does he want to be coached? And you guys would know better than I would, but just reading stuff, that's kind of what I do during the week. It sounds like, yeah, he's done some stuff that you're probably, man, why'd he do that? But he wants to be coached and he welcomes it. And I don't know, just be a good teammate as a young guy. He's obviously uber talented. So I'm excited for him.
Thoroughly enjoyed that. This is a guy who monitors the entire league, Tom. We see him on podcasts all over. Kay Adams, of course. So he's watching a lot of tape somehow, some way. You can't take the football out of the man. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, right here at home, driving access toward healthier communities through it all. And Vizzy Hard Seltzer, flavors for every vibe. Celebrate responsibly. Molson Coors Beverage Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So this Carolina Panthers team, as we get our perspectives now on this matchup Sunday, as we had time to really dig in deep on these Panthers, they're a different-looking offense with Andy Dalton. That's a fact, and you got to respect the instinctiveness of a veteran quarterback. A year ago, week 3, I think, he came in for Bryce Young, and he had a big game against Seattle. So I'm not going to, as you said, don't fall asleep on Andy Dalton.
Right.
And then, this has got a weird feel to it because there is a lot of Seattle connections, obviously, with Dave Canales going over there. And Dave Canales was with the Seattle Seahawks for a long time, so he worked with Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator. So there's a very familiar feel to this matchup.
Well, I'm going to start with the defense for the Chicago Bears because Bryce Young in his 2 games, he was sacked 6 times. Andy Dalton in his 2 games, he's been sacked twice. And so what do you do as a quarterback that's brought in, and what do you improve? The offensive line is not changing personnel, but Andy Dalton is more efficient in how quickly he gets the ball out of his hands. And when you look at Xavier Leggett, who's a rookie wide receiver, they have him listed at 6'3", 227. They have other guys that can run and catch the ball. Andy Dalton, he can improve positions without personnel changing in the positions, and that's kind of a concern of mine, but I think they're over there looking, saying, look, man, this defense rotates 8 defensive linemen and they can all rush the passer. They got athletes at the linebacker position and multiple defensive backs. So as much as I'm concerned about the way he improved the offensive line, I'm sure they have their own concerns.
You know who Xavier Leggett is being compared to? DK Metcalf.
Is he? Yeah.
DK Metcalf.
I just looked at him and I remember him from the draft and just looking at him and his size, and it's really hard to develop and use that size as an asset when you have a developing small quarterback like Bryce Young. So now insert Andy Dalton with years of experience against every possible coverage, and then all of a sudden it increases your targets and your opportunities.
All right, defensively, they're giving up the most points in the league. Their red zone defense is very penetratable right now, over 90% touchdown efficiency in the first 4 games for their opponents, and they're losing bodies. I mean, obviously losing a star player like Derek Brown in week 1 against New Orleans, but now Shaq Thompson, Achilles, Josie Jewell is not going to play. He's got groin and hamstring issues in the game, so you're talking about a kind of a no-name defense. J.C. Horn on the back end is a well-known name that DJ Moore practice against every day, knows how he can play, and he is a very, very good defender, but he hasn't been able to be durable in his career yet either. So is this a great situation for the Bears?
Oh, God, you're putting me on the spot there because I don't think anything's a great situation until you prove where you're going. I think the Bears have an opportunity to repeat the red zone performance of last week. And if they get the right coverage from DJ, Caleb's got the ability to make the throw. If they have a running game that can be strong and powerful on the inside, even if they continue to use Doug Kramer, then so be it. So I just think there's another step that we're looking for the Bears to take in different segments of their game, but nothing as important as the red zone when you get there.
If the Bears call more runs than passes in this game, will you feel good about it and you feel like you're walking out of there with a win?
Yes. I think if you can gain any type of an advantage on the offensive line, take a little bit of responsibility or reps out of Caleb's eyes, arm, and hand and put it in the stable of running backs the Bears have. There's nothing more gratifying to a home crowd and to a football team when they have a time-consuming scoring running game and the defense is just sitting over there chomping on the bit to get back on the field, and then you see those results that can really complement the Bears down the road.
Steinhoffels is an employee-owned furniture and mattress store. Visit any of their 4 Chicagoland locations in Vernon Hills, Crystal Lake, Downers Grove, and Harwood Heights, or shop online at steinhoffels.com. The one thing for me in this game, too, the defense has to stop the run. We keep talking about it, about running the ball. You're always going to talk about it defensively as well because Chuba Hubbard going to have to really want to tackle this guy. He gets the bulk of his yards are coming after contact. Miles Sanders is averaging almost 6 yards a carry as the change-up back. So it has my attention for sure. And a veteran quarterback with play action and all that, if you don't stop the run, it's going to open things up. So got to stop the run.
Well, you know, the inside of the defense is going to really have a big impact in this game, the defensive tackles and linebackers. But equally as important as the pass rush when Andy Dalton does want to throw the ball, challenge his athleticism, challenge his courage to stand inside the pocket, knowing that if he's going to get hit repeatedly, does he become gun shy? So I'm looking for the defense to be complemented by a home crowd and a lot of noise, and take this thing on the road to London. And
are you packed?
Yes, but I'm
packing
my defense
right.
Because defenses travel well.
Yeah, and so does your running game. So pack them both. You got to carry on. You got to carry on, and you can check one bag. I'm going to check the defense. I'm going to carry on my running game.
Listen, we played in London the first time in 1986. So we've been building up a fan base in London as much as the Jacksonville Jaguars have. So the Chicago Bears fans traveling from the U.S. or in London, they got to show up loud and proud because I want it to be equal noise. I don't want it to be deafening against the Bears and I want the defense.
Literally, we do have to be packed on Monday. I mean, because they want our stuff early, so it's like between 8 and 8 in the morning or whatever. So we're gonna roll right into our work on Monday up here at Alice Hall. We'll have another podcast for you that'll drop on Tuesday. By the time we land, it'll be out for Chicago fans. But what's the one thing you cannot live without on the road for a week? In London, what's packed in your suitcase may have already been put in there that you cannot absolutely live without?
A Bears rain top, because I looked up the weather and it's got chances of rain for about 4 of the days. And because we're staying at separate hotels and if we have to walk back and forth to the team hotel, I want to be able to have, something like that. I've been on, 8 or 6 or 7 of these international trips, and I'm only bringing a carry-on. I'm not going to be there early to give luggage that is just overpacked and unnecessarily filled with stuff you're never going to take out of your bag.
Now, what would you consider unnecessary?
Dress shoes, sport coat.
Well, what if we are asked to do something, that might require a little more formal attire for dinner?
Well, you better ask me now. Don't ask me Wednesday when we're there.
Yeah,
ask me now so I can pack it. But I'm not packing unnecessary clothes, and I'm bringing a lot of things. These pants now they make that are stretchy and comfortable that they can be worn multiple times, and that's what I'm packing because they don't take up a lot of room. I did my wash and hung it on the line yesterday, and I'm ready to roll, man. Let's go. I'll go to today.
You are hilarious. I have not. There's still many things to factor in. I packed pretty heavy for a one-night stay somewhere, so
I know.
this is going to be a challenge for me. All right, enough of that. We will get that going on Monday. We'll talk to you on the radio on ESPN 1000. On Thursday night, we have Bears Weekly. Join us for that. Our guest is going to be Matt Pryor, the Bears offensive lineman, so we'll visit with him this week. And then, of course, Sunday at noon at Soldier Field, looking forward to that matchup against the Carolina Panthers. Good news, Chicago. United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat and room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears and you too. Special thanks to our guest, Luke Kuechly, the Carolina Panthers former linebacker and radio analyst. Also to Tremaine Edmunds, and for Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe now on the Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, everybody.